Hi everyone, it's that time again, Birky's book time with me and Archibald. But where is he? He's not sitting with me. He's asleep, as normal, but he's left me. Look, there he is, snoring away, all on his own. I think he's losing interest in Birky's book time. We need to bring him back with chapter 7. Let's see what's happening to Lily. Here we go. The morning after she'd arrived home, Lily woke to find the snow was falling thick and fast. She put on her winter coat to take a walk in the grounds. 2 strange steam wagons were parked in the driveway. One a Rolls-Royce Phantom with a mechanical chauffeur and number plate, Silverfish. The other a small squat vehicle with a black chimney stack, barely bigger than a top hat. Neither looked to have anything to do with Papa. Among the distant trees, she caught sight of 2 standing figures. She recognised them at once. Papa's other mechanicals, Mr. Wingnut and Miss Tock. Frozen, like statues, rakes in their hands and a wheelbarrow at their side. They were gradually being covered in snow. Why on earth were they out in this weather? And run down too. Surely they'd corrode. She hurried to the back door and tumbled into the kitchen, searching for Mrs. Rust. An iron range warmed the room with the scent of freshly baking biscuits, and the mechanical cook hummed softly to herself, clattering about whipping eggs in a bowl with her whisk-arm attachment. Her selection of replaceable hands gleamed on their hooks along the dresser. Spatulas, sieves, saucepans, spoons and fish slicers, each one well used and sparkling. Why are Mr. Wingnut and Miss Tock unwound in the garden? You're up early, Mrs. Rust said, ignoring the question. I didn't sleep very well, so I decided to take a walk. Lily clapped her gloved hands together to banish the cold. Tell me. Mrs. Rust looked sad. Madame sent them to clear up the leaves yesterday, and when they froze halfway through the job, she refused to wind them. Said it wasn't her business to follow round useless mechs making sure they worked. She only wound me to cook, and Captain Springer to take her and collect her from the station. Before that, she'd locked him in the cellar. Lily's eyes brimmed with tears. Can't we help them? She asked. I don't think so, dear. The old mechanical shook her head. Madame took all our winding keys as soon as your papa was gone. It's only been a day. He could still come back, make things better, couldn't he? Her head ached from thinking about it. Perhaps that's our job, Mrs. Rust took a wheezing breath. I know sometimes life can be painful, my tiger, but remember, if you can't change what's happened today, you must bide your time until you're strong enough to fight tomorrow. She set her bowl aside and held out a rack of biscuits. Here, have an almond thin. I made them special to put warmth in your belly. Thank you. Lily took one in her gloved hand and bit into it. The biscuit tasted delicious, but it was hot. She sucked air in through her teeth, waving a hand in front of her face. Steam and steel, Mrs. Rust clucked. I didn't realise they were still piping. Comes of having heat-proof fingers. But give it time, dear, and the hurt'll fade. I'd say the same to you about your papa, if you'd let me. She set the rack of biscuits aside. We'd best save the rest of these for after breakfast. Yes, Lily said, we'd best. She slumped in a chair by the fire and put her feet on the fender, warming her boots. She tried not to dwell on the fates of the other mechs, or Malkin, or Papa. It was hard not to, but something about this room made her feel safe from the bad in the world. Perhaps it was Mrs. Rust herself. She was so warm-hearted and understood everything Lily was going through. Not like Madame. If you had to guess which of the 2 had feelings, Lily knew who she'd choose. Mrs. Rust swapped her whisk hand for a spatula from the dresser, clicking it into place. Stopwatches and spinning tops, she cried. I plumb clean forgot. Madame Verdigris wants to see you in the drawing room straight after breakfast. Lily gulped. It was as if she'd been summoned, just for thinking ill of Madame. I wonder what she wants, she asked. Mrs. Rust gave a jittery shrug. By all that ticks, I've no idea. She's got some lawyer and another fellow with her. I think it's disgusting. Your father's barely been missing a day. The way she carries on, you'd suppose they already knew. He was dead rather than... She tailed off. Steam engines and stovepipes. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to... That's okay, Rusty. Lily picked at a fingernail and took a breath, holding in another sharp wave of sorrow. Why don't you tell me what else has been going on? The old mechanical took the kettle from the stove and poured a spurt of water into the pot to warm it. I'm all zeros and ones today, she lamented, spooning in the tea before filling the pot to the brim with water. Since Madame's been in charge, she's been snuffling everyone's business. Thinks your father's had valuables hidden in the house. Mrs. Russ laid some tea cakes on the stove top, pressing them down with her spatula hand. Even interviewed Captain Springer, Miss Tock and Mr. Wingnut yesterday morning. I could have told her they didn't know anything. That's why she let them wind down. But you do know something, Lily said. Cam Springs and cold cream. I couldn't rightly say. Mrs. Rust gave her a darting, nervous look as she scraped up the tea cakes and buttered the browned underside of each. There were so many things your father was working on, but I doubt any of them was valuable enough for him to be disappeared for. She placed the plate of tea cakes in front of Lily. Eat up, my tiger. You don't want to face her upstairs on an empty stomach. Lily took the top off the marmalade jar and spooned some onto the warm bread. She felt lucky to be so doted on, considering the way everyone else here had been treated. If Papa was around, he'd put a stop to it, but he wasn't, and it seemed his secrets were the reason everything had gone wrong in the first place. When she arrived in the drawing room half an hour later, Lily found Madame already present, along with Mr. Sunder, a grey lawyer from the firm Rent and Sunder. Also present was a barrel of a man who perched on the edge of his chair with his hat on his knees. His handsome square-jawed face looked thinner and more lined than when she had last seen it, but it lit up immediately at the sight of her. "Lily!" he cried. "There you are!" "Professor Silverfish!" Lily broke into a broad smile. "Yes, it's me." Her godfather stood and gave her an enormous bear hug. "You've grown so tall! Have you still got those tin toys I bought you?" She shook her head. "They broke, I'm afraid." "How?" "I took them apart to see how they worked." Professor Silverfish laughed. "A girl after my own heart." He drew back and winced, and Lily heard a ticking coming from his chest. "Speaking of hearts," the professor said, "I'm afraid I've been most unwell, Lily." Carefully undid the buttons of his jacket, revealing a lumpy metal device buckled on over his shirt. Tubes from the device ran in and out of his chest. "It's all right," he reassured her when he saw her look of horror. "It's perfectly harmless, a clockwork prototype, a hybrid heart, nothing more. It keeps me from going completely kaput." Professor Silverfish ran a hand through his spray of white hair. "Of course it takes a lot of winding, like one of the mechanicals, what? And it means, in many ways, I am invalided. I cannot function as I used to, but still I try my best, and I've come to see you, Lily, in your hour of need." "Papa never told me you were so ill," Lily said. "I just thought you'd gone away." Professor Silverfish's face fell. "Yes, I missed your father in recent years, missed everyone, but I had to visit warmer climes for my health, for this." He tapped the contraption on his chest. "I only wish I could have been here for you, with everything that's happened, your mother's death and now John's disappearance. I hear you've been taken out of school." He trailed off. Lily took a deep breath. She was glad he'd stopped talking. The things he was saying and the horrible device only made her feel worse. Professor Silverfish seemed to sense her discomfort. "I'm sorry," he said. He buttoned his jacket, muffling the loud tick of the device, and took a deep breath before sitting back down with a wince. Madame Verdigris, who had been conversing quietly with Mr. Sunder, gave a discreet cough. "Bien," she said. "If we might get the proceedings underway?" "Of course," Professor Silverfish nodded. Lily, why don't you take a seat? Lily sunk into Papa's old leather armchair in the centre of the room and watched Mr. Sunder sit down opposite her on the sofa. He produced a sheaf of documents from a folder in his lap and, shuffling them together, placed them on the table in front of him. Miss Hartman, since your father went missing yesterday, certain protocols have been taken into consideration. He did leave a letter with us concerning your welfare. If anything was to happen to him, I am going to read it to you now. Mr. Sunder took out a pair of pince-nez and polished them with a spotted handkerchief. Lily waited for the worst, but only the soft tick of Professor Silverfish's heart machine and Madame's shallow, steady breathing filled the silence. Finally, Mr. Sunder perched his spectacles on his beaky nose and began to read. I, John Hartman, being of sound mind and body, do hereby set down my wishes regarding the future care of my daughter, Lily Grace Hartman. His cold words, echoing round the room, sounded most unlike Papa. Lily glanced tearfully at the Professor and then at Madame Verdigris, lingering in the bay window. A hawk-like profile, black as a cameo, was framed by the lines of the sash. Madame turned and spoke impatiently to the lawyer. We know this. Skip to the important part. Perhaps the young lady would like to... I said skip to the details. Right. Mr. Sunder gave an embarrassed cough. The terms, all patents, devices and properties are to be held in trust for Lily, who will come into ownership on her 18th birthday. Mr. Hartman has stipulated that until then, Madame Verdigris is to be appointed guardian and trustee of the patents, to be informally advised by myself and the girl's godfather. He nodded to Professor Silverfish. What about Mrs. Rust? Lily asked. I thought Papa would have appointed her my guardian. Lily is right, Professor Silverfish said. And what of the other mechanicals who work for John? Captain Springer, Miss Tock, Mr. Wingnut. He must have made some provision for them also. And we're going to end there because it's a long chapter. So I'm going to do half now and I'll do half another day. It's getting really good. I am loving this story. I've not had any contacts for a while with you all, so let me know if you're still enjoying it, and then I can give you a shout out if you let me know that you're enjoying the story. And also let me know who your favourite characters are. So far I'm still loving Malkin and I really want him to start ticking again. Okay, I hope you couldn't hear Archibald too much because I heard him snoring quite loud, but we're going to say goodbye now, so I'll see if he'll wake up for you. Archie? Archibald? Archibald? Archibald! Archie! Archie! He's really tired! Are you going to say goodbye to everyone? Okay, everyone, we're going to see you again soon. Until then, take care. Bye!